Hello there, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, we're going to go over what happened after last night's Raw went off the air.
Vince McMahon's at it again.
We have a backstage update on WWE's response to last night's Raw.
And a backstage update on WWE's plans for Indus Sher. I'm Adam Wilborn.
And I'm Andy Murray.
And this is the news.
You want to know what happened after Raw went off the air last night?
People went home.
Show of respect.
Good.
For the building by going home. Yeah, so Damian Priest and Seth Rollins obviously had the main event for the World Heavyweight Championship on the show, closed the night. It kind of continued recent events. Last week we had the tag match with AJ Styles. This week the Judgment Day once again accosted Rollins while he was in the ring and led to that main event last night, which was extremely well received.
Yeah.
But while Rollins and Priest were fighting when the cameras were rolling, when the cameras were not rolling, they were showing respect. What happened? Priest went back up the ramp after the match, obviously. You let the victor take the ring and celebrate and all of that stuff. Rollins called him back into the ring and they shook hands. Ooh. And there you go. They went into business for themselves, just like Triple H and the Click that time.
The curtain call.
The curtain called it 2.0 and 100% both of them are now getting fired. I'm speaking nonsense, of course. It's just a thing they did off camera. They didn't go into business for themselves, as if I need to explain that. PW Insider's Mike Johnson kind of reported on this, but also this video was on Twitter and everywhere. Like, you know, these things, they get out there. They get out there, photos, everything else. A little bit of a handshake, a little bit of respect. Yes.
Quite right in terms of the brilliant main event those two put on together, but I also wonder if possibly this is going to be included in a storyline. This isn't the same as someone who's just like had a bloodbath with someone and then going, oh, right, now the camera's on.
We're best friends.
Maybe they're going to introduce it as part of the Judgment Day storyline. There was a little bit of tension. You know, you saw it earlier on in the night with Damian Priest being like, I don't need the rest of those losers in Judgment Day. And Finn Balor being like, stood right here, mate.
Excuse me, brother.
But also, obviously, Balor tried to involve himself in the main event. And then they obviously stared down with Seth Rollins afterwards. Maybe there's problems within the Judgment Day.
I hope not.
And they're going to bring in JD McDonough probably in the long term.
It sounds like the last thing I want is for the Judgment Day to split up and then JD McDonough.
Yeah, I don't want any
get
changes.
involved.
That four is perfect
It's
right
just
now.
it's the most fun stable. Why would you mess with it? But it was reported recently. Who reported that? I had it here and I've lost it. It was reported recently that WWE personnel now see Priest as someone who's edging closer to that main event scene. So this presentation is in line with that.
Yeah, I think he's done sensational stuff. From the moment he arrived in WWE, he was great in NXT.
Hanging in the hot tub with Triple H in the background.
Punishment Martinez.
That's right.
Of course. And I think we were all a little bit worried when he went up to the main roster. And then, by God, he's had some absolute rippers. He's fit really well in this version of the Judgment Day, more so I'd say. And obviously, we've got him to thank really for all the Bad Bunny stuff.
Good-looking big men coming up from NXT. Damian Priest carrying Cross, conflicting paths, different levels of success. I think that's quite interesting. Obviously, they're very different. But
two young guys in this business.
Just sexy men, man. Damian Priest. I get it. I got the joke.
Yeah.
I understood that.
Vince McMahon's at it again, Andy.
Oh, good.
With the white vans. Damn, Daniel.
Wow.
That's a reference from a few years back, isn't it?
Okay.
No, by that I mean making significant changes to Monday Night Raw. He was reportedly, from PW Insider, backstage on last night's show, which, not that I want to endorse this, but makes a lot of sense considering they were in Hartford, Connecticut.
So right next to Stamford.
It's the same as, Wales being Drew McIntyre's backyard, basically. Major changes to the show because, of course, although he has been doing that remotely, as PW Insider also reports, they said that his influence was absolutely felt, and he's understood to have reworked and reordered parts of Raw to fit his vision of what he wanted. God knows what that is. Although, for once, the alterations weren't overtly stressful or over the top in what was required, although I sense probably WWE's writers might have something to say about that. His involvement didn't generate much resentment or anger. People have just, as wrestling fans have, kind of just sadly come to accept that he's back on the throne. What was the quote they wrote here? One talent said, "The Band-Aid has already been ripped off." That's the plaster has already been ripped off for our British viewers.
There you go. First backstage visit, I think, since the Raw after WrestleMania.
Yes.
He's been doing his Zoom calls where he changes stuff. Last night he was at Gorilla. I think reports like this show that, you know, when you talk about like Vince changing things and having the final say on creative and stuff, and sometimes there's a bit of pushback going, what do you mean it's Triple H and all this stuff. Reports like this should really put that kind of counterpoint to bed, really. We know what it is. We know he is back in this position of power. He's on the board of directors. He's leading the wrestling arm of the Endeavor TKO Newco gimmick. He's back, baby. He's not writing every single show. Triple H is doing that. Seems to be the process as Chief Content Officer, Papa H.
Yeah, it's better than it was in the olden days under Vince.
Yeah, puts most of the stuff together and then Vince just changes whatever he sees fit, rather than like complete chaos. But the opportunity for complete chaos does exist now because he has the power to do that. Yeah, exactly. So, hey, it is what it is. You don't need to care about this stuff. You just need to kind of take on the reports. Like, if you still enjoy the shows, you probably don't care that much.
Yeah,
which is fair.
I think if you've been living under a rock from before Vince came back from resigning in disgrace, of course, because all the allegations. We should mention that. I think if you watch last night's Raw, I watched it before I saw all these reports. You can feel it. It's just there's certain things that are Vince-isms that you can, promo trains. A hell of a lot of impromptu matches on last night's show. That's Vince's thing. Yeah. However, last night's show was good, but I'm not going to say, hey, maybe this is a good thing that Vince is back.
It was
good in spite of him.
100%. That's the line I always go with that useless old creep. Anyway, let's talk about the backstage reaction to last night's Raw, which was in Hartford, Connecticut. As you've just discussed / mentioned, I was quite surprised by this, but I think this just illustrates the difference in the experience between attending something live and being there in the building and watching it on TV. Because I was watching Raw and I thought, this is a good show. The crowd are not very hot.
Yeah.
Different perspective from WWE Backstage. PW Insider, Mike Johnson, reporting they had a lot of fun. The talent had a lot of fun in Hartford last night. They did note the difference between this city and others like Montreal or New York, which have like reputations for being rowdy and loud and all of that stuff. But they were talking about like the volume of signs at the show.
Oh, there's a lot. I noticed that. Yeah,
signs everywhere.
Bring that back.
And that this being like a smaller, older building, like the acoustics felt different and made it feel really big. Apparently.
Okay.
One staff member commented as well that unlike modern venues that have like a screen on every, like a big video screen, Hartford building, what was it called? XL Center. It doesn't have any of those, which means that the fans were forced to pay attention to the ring and not the screen, which is good because none of us have attention spans anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Worse than goldfish. So if you remove one distraction, hey, it makes sense. And as a result, the building felt more unified in their reactions to what was happening in the ring. So this is cool. This is an interesting thing. I kind of threw this one in the video today because it does demonstrate that when you watch something on television, you go, oh, this crowd's dead. It's not always accurate.
Yeah.
Like there was a couple of things when I was watching Double or Nothing.
Good point.
Yeah, like after not the first match, but like the Adam Cole, Chris Jericho, and then the tag title match, I was watching them going, wow, this is really quiet. But then speaking to the boys who were in the building, they were like, nah, it was really loud. It's just like how they produce and how they mic stuff. And
yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't land.
I'm always glad that we hear reports that people are happy at their job, basically.
Yeah. I had a good day at my work.
I do like the no screens thing because I have to admit I probably watched half of WrestleMania 39 on that big SoFi screen, and the moment that broke, because there were some technical issues on I think both nights, half the crowd were like, boo! And the rest of us were like, what have we done wrong? What's happened?
It's
but
difficult.
It was just the screens went down.
It's difficult, isn't it, when you're like quite far back. It's difficult not to look at the screen because it's a bit more amplified, it's a bit bigger. I always have this thing in my head when I'm doing that, like, oh, I'm here live, I should be watching this.
Yeah.
But then you're like, no, it's bigger and it's clearer. So like it's a balance for sure.
The only thing is if the screen's like a split second off.
Yeah.
Because then you can see the pinfalls and whatever.
It ruins it.
Oh God. Yeah. But
wrestling is ruined by screens.
I'll tell you who else got ruined last night. Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander by Indus Sher, specifically Cedric Alexander, who got injured. I do hope he was just injured and not injured. Yeah,
it's kayfabe.
He was, well, they both got the crap beaten out of them because obviously Indus Sher have been moved up to the main roster. They were doing stuff on NXT before. They're aligned with, Veer and, what's his name? Sanger. He's changed his name about 3 times in NXT.
Veer and Beer.
Yeah, Veer and Sanger obviously have been aligned with Jinder Mahal for quite some time. They've mainly been doing squash matches, obviously, and they effectively did one here, except the match just didn't happen. They beat the crap out of Benjamin and Alexander, and as I say, injured him. And Mike Johnson from PW Insider reports that angle was planned in advance. They are currently really giving a big push to Indus Sher ahead of WWE's return to India, with a September date reportedly in the works. First major show in the nation in several years.
Yeah.
Is it the first one since they were like, maybe we'll have Jinder face Brock at Survivor Series?
They overshot that a little bit with that tour, didn't they? They had to downsize a fair bit when Jinder was the champion.
They booked him. Say what you like about him, his wrestling ability, and I'm not going to comment on it because I've never taken a bump in my life, but they did book him terribly. He could have just been a hero rather than just a sneaky bastard that then you have to work around. And because didn't the Indian commentators sort of try and present it a little differently back then?
I can't remember.
I seem to remember that was the case, and I was like, or you could have just booked him well.
This is the thing I don't understand about targeting new markets, which is something that they should be doing.
Yes.
The Indian audience in particular is massive and obviously is underserved because there's not a lot of WWE shows over there. The thing I don't get about these things is why are we always pushing these people as heels?
Yeah.
If we're using specific wrestlers to try and capture a market, maybe it would be a bit more effective if they were heroic baby faces.
Well, they've done it before. Didn't Buddy Murphy win the Cruiserweight Championship in Australia at Super Showdown?
Exactly.
So you've done it, it worked, and you've gone, no, ignore that. Let's...
Yeah, it strikes me as a bit weird. Obviously, right, a home market is going to go nuts for their person regardless, but I just think you would pull more people in beforehand if Indus Sher were faces or whatever. So yeah, it's an interesting strategy. They should go and do shows in India because the crowds are deeply invested in pro wrestling.
I love their squash matches though.
They're
murdering. One of them was Big Body Javi the other week, wasn't it?
It was.
Oh, sorry for him.
You know what? They remind me of the Offers of Pain. They're a bit clumsy.
Yes.
I'm not convinced.
They fell off the ring apron last week.
Yeah, I'm not convinced they are any good. And the powerhouse is big guys, but they're a lot of fun to watch. They remind me of this guy as well.
Yes.
He's absolutely rubbish, and yet he's incredible fun.
I've just realised, by the way, they might be doing this, and this is a genuinely good thing they did in NXT, and I'm being serious here. I'm hoping they're building up Indus Sher so they can just have a big lads match and bring up the Creed brothers from NXT, who are awesome.
Beef.
Sidgwick, when we were doing the draft, drafted Julius Creed because he's got superstar potential there. And Brutus Creed does a cannibal. He's going to break both of his ankles, right? This cannibal jump off the apron, but that'll kick ass if they're planning to do that in the future. But yeah, they're building up Indus Sher ahead of their India tour, basically.
Yeah. We need more big men tag teams in the world.
Yeah.
In general. What happened?
It's not a guilty pleasure. That was not even a guilty pleasure. It's just
it's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
The Road Warriors. It's great.
Yeah.
I love all I love the flippy doos. I love every kind of wrestling. Well, not every, but a lot. 90%. Name a style. I'm into it. Big boys, man. Let's get some Demolition, some Road Warrior style, big beefy boys just beefing all over the place. Let's do it.
Right, let's move on to your questions taken today from YouTube's community. So thank you to everyone who contributed. If you want to contribute in future, just make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll see the questions that Andy posts with the intriguing images of animals on certain days.
Tango Man occasionally.
But yes, we've got several questions. We're actually going to be doing 2 loads of Twitter questions because they're not Twitter questions, Adam. Community questions, because we've got a second news video coming later on today with a whole load more of them. But the first question today comes from Chad W.C. Michael, who says, if you weren't specifically employed to consume wrestling content 24/7, it's not a bad life, is it?
It's all right, yeah.
What would be your for sure weekly watch, and what might you tune out of for a while?
Oh, wow. Wow. Dynamite I would watch. Collision's coming up. Obviously,
you have to watch
give it a chance.
First, yeah.
SmackDown I would watch because it has Roman Reigns on it. Beyond that, I would watch my Japanese nerd stuff that I watch anyway, and CMLL and stuff. On a weekly basis, I would skip Raw. I would read reports. online.
Watch some YouTube clips, maybe.
Yeah, watch the stuff that's really hot and really sounds like something I'd be into. NXT's a given.
It is a given.
I would probably mostly skip Rampage as well.
Yes, that was what I was going to say. I think... when I used to do a normal job, I often would, because of, social media and what have you, and I get it, but I also then employed the rule of just don't go on social media if you don't want stuff spoiled.
It's pretty
I would often
straightforward.
find, if something big happened, like, I don't know, someone returned on Monday Night Raw, chances are I would see it before I get the chance to watch Raw, because... Yeah, I wouldn't wake up 3 hours before my job to watch it if it wasn't as part of my job. We're very lucky to do this, obviously. But I think you're right. I think I'd probably skim Raw with the clips. I'd watch Dynamite. I'd watch SmackDown. I would 100%... I'd probably watch NXT live, if anything. And I would stop watching Rampage, as I'm going to do in a week's time.
It's over.
It's going to become a developmental show, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was like the championship night thing was fun this past week, but that's probably not going to be the norm. It's going to be like WWF Heat.
I just wish, Andy, I knew who was kind of behind the booking of that sort of thing, but maybe there could be a news video later on today informing us of the legend involved in helping out with AEW. More on that later on. Nair Murdoch says, "Good morning, legends.
Hi.
Who would you like to see do commentary for Collision, and who do you think actually will? Interesting, this.
Excalibur's got to be the play-by-play guy.
He feels like he's the fixture on the main shows, obviously.
Yeah, he's the best. This is the best. Him and Ian Riccaboni are else. So for the lineup, I would go Excalibur. I would probably rotate it a little bit and but definitely Excalibur leading it. Probably Taz because he's so fun and I want him on everything and I love his energy. And maybe I'm going with Paul White. Why not?
Okay.
Tall Paul needs a gig, man.
Is there a chance they take a punt on JR leading it anymore?
I don't know. It seems to me like JR, as he gets older and older.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want him doing like the full show and stuff. Because if I was like JR, I'd be really tired doing like I'm 35 and I could do like a full show. So I don't think he'll do the full show, but maybe you'll see him every now and then. Yeah.
I saw a campaign from Mauro Ranallo getting involved. I don't think that's going to happen.
There's literally the two commentators that I would watch this show in a foreign language for every week if they installed Mauro Ranallo or Pat McAfee somehow.
Yeah, you're not a fan of
Ear bleeding. I can't be... Like, I understand why people love both of them, and if that's your flavor, I respect that. I would rather listen to literally anything else. I'd rather wash my eyes with Vindaloo.
But you know what? That's subjective, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure people won't be idiots online to you about it.
Like what you like and hate what you hate.
Exactly.
That's how it goes.
I do hope, in a roundabout way, this gives another chance for... I don't think it's going to be on Collision, but gives us a chance to get more Daddy Magic on commentary, because I thought he was an absolute sensation. And maybe, with the things the way that's shifting around, maybe obviously they're not doing Dark Elevation anymore, or for the time being at least. Maybe they do Rampage now, like Paul White and a Daddy Magic combo. In terms of who I think is going to do commentary, Punk. Came on everything. It's his show, so...
He's good at commentary as well, so...
Can I wear your jacket? I hated that promo. People were like, it was so funny. No, it wasn't. He was kissing Triple H's ass and you could tell he hated it. Maya Jalan, apologies, gives us our final question today. Good day, fellas. Good day. Given that our tribal chief was handed a new belt, any chance the tag titles will incur a same fate even? Or do you reckon WWE are waiting for the first opportunity to split them up again?
I don't get... This is an interesting one because there's not been much reporting on it, has there?
No.
Contrast with the world titles. I don't get the impression that they're hurrying to split it up or anything like that. I think that they'll probably will go down the same route as they've done it now with the top title. And you can have the champions bounce back and forth between brands, which probably makes sense in WWE specifically. Yeah, I think they'll get new belts.
I think this, the World Heavyweight Championship now, is it called the Undisputed? Can't be, can it?
It's just the Universal now?
WWE Universal Championship, whatever you call it. I think it's starting a wave of new belts.
Mutilation.
Because I think they've still got the SmackDown Women's Championship on Raw and the Raw Women's Championship on SmackDown, so I think they're going to change them. I think they're going to, like you say, unify the tag belts. Maybe they'll bring out new women's tag belts as part of like Shayna and Ronda trying to bring respect back to that. But I don't want them to change the United States Championship. I think that looks great, and obviously the Intercontinental Championship is beautiful, particularly when it is around Gunther's waist. So I think there's going to be a large amount of changes. But yeah, they need to work out what they're doing with the belts first, because they've got the NXT Tag Champions, Women's Tag Champs, on SmackDown, which is fine. I love Isla Dawn and Alba Fire, but why are they champs, and why were they challenged by two people who are now on Raw?
Because they don't give a damn.
They haven't got a bloody clue what's going on. And finally, go out today and touch grass. I forgot to pick it, and we're running along anyway. So let us know your thoughts on everything we have discussed in the comments section below. Like, share, subscribe to What Culture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. Me and the Daily Boys sitting down to review Monday Night Raw a little bit later on today. Thoughts, Twitter questions, community questions at WhatCulture WWE on Twitter and on YouTube. You know where to find us, because we're here. If you want to follow Andy Murray on Twitter, you can follow him at
Andy H Murray. The H stands for
you can follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE, and make sure you join me and Andy later on for today's After News. But for now, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.